Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 526 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined as always by Stephen Kyle Brackey, and today, a very special day for FloWrestling Radio Live. We have a very special guest on. He defeated every champion from every organization the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen and retired from the octagon as the biggest draw and the industry's highest paid athlete of all time. From Westland, Oregon, Chael P. Sonnen. How are you?
Me? I'm great. I'm happy to be talking to you. What's up, fellas?
Not much, man. We got I guess we both have some big weekends coming up. We're gearing up for our Saturday event, Date Chamizo. That's why Ben is off the show, because he's headed our way right now, and that's why we had to have a replacement like no other. Chael Sonnen, you're in Connecticut right now for the Bellator fight.
Yeah, Bellator's going on this weekend. I mean, we got all sorts of fights going on, but for the wrestling world, Aaron Pico making his return after a little while. So, yeah, good weekend.
Excited for that. Pico is someone that I think we have a special, the wrestling community is just drawn to because of how great he was at wrestling, and then there's just so much mystery, and he's so young still at the sport. What are your thoughts on Pico, his progression? Obviously, it wasn't the start to his career that a lot of people anticipated, probably Aaron himself. What are your thoughts on Aaron right now as a prospect?
Yeah, he's incredible. Look, if he was a stock, I would go all in. And I was just talking to him yesterday. I asked him about wrestling. You know, you can't talk to Pico with the Olympics a year away and not ask him, hey, man, are you thinking about coming back? Is there any chance you're going to go to the trials? And there's not, by the way. Disappointingly, there's not. He's all in on MMA. I think largely having some of the bad luck, not having all the results, and not quite living up to the expectations, it's really drawn him to it. You know, he moved. He's out in Albuquerque now with the Greg Jackson camp. He's been there for a while, but he's out there now, and he's fully committed. So unfortunately, we're not going to see him. We're not going to see him wrestle again. I really think that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big what if, because the guy made the Olympic trials finals and lost barely to a guy that got fifth at the Olympics, Frank Molinaro, at 18 years old, kind of unprecedented. So he'd really be hitting his stride right now if he was in wrestling, but obviously he'd always had his eyes on MMA all along. So excited to watch him. Is he a pretty big favorite in this fight?
No, he's not. I mean, he is the favorite. He's expected to win. You know, Pico's had the worst luck in fighting. I mean, I really don't know of anybody that's a better fighter that isn't undefeated. I mean, it always shocks me anytime I'm talking about Pico or doing an announcement on Pico, and I got to admit that he's lost a fight before or a couple of fights before. It always surprised me because he's so talented. But, you know, he does fight a little bit reckless. He's a wrestler. He's a wrestler, but he fell in love with his hands. I think we've seen a few guys do that, and he goes out there and he boxes, and that's just a risky game. If he just went out and tackled everybody and got them on the ground and kept them there, the way he's conditioned, the way he's a natural competitor, I think he'd be unblemished right now. But I'm sure everybody can say that about their career. But for Pico specifically, he's a wildly talented guy that's got a couple of losses that, you know, in all fairness, if he could redo, I don't believe that he would have.
Yeah. Let's catch up with you a little bit. What are the things you've been up to recently? You've got a podcast. You're all over the place. You're doing Bellator. You've got your YouTube channel. What is Chael P up to these days?
I'm bored, man. You know, I am so bored. There's nothing to do, and there's nobody to do nothing with. I've watched every television show there is. I'm on a new series. Actually, I'm on a new series called Sneaky Pete, which I rather enjoy. I don't know how much I enjoy it, but when you're all out of options, I've watched everything. I'm bored. I'm tired of being inside. This is my first time out. I'm at Bellator. First time, you know, traveling since the pandemic hit, and I'm excited for this. They got all sorts of rules on us, Pile. We got, I've already done 2 COVID tests. I have one more today just to be able to leave the hotel room to go to the event that we're talking about, and then I'm going to fly home, man, and I'm going to get right in front of a computer. I'm going to watch Frank versus Dake. That's what really matters right now.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why don't we talk about that?
Let's do. First, what was your gut reaction when you saw these two guys were going to be wrestling July 25th?
Well, I was fired up, you know, and I've never met either. But Frank, you know, good for Frank. It seems like Frank never turns down a match. It seems like everything you guys throw at him, he says the word yes to. And I like that in a competitor. I've liked every piece of buildup from Kyle Dake. I think Kyle Dake has quickly become the most interesting guy in wrestling, which was quite a battle when you got Pat Downey battling with you. I mean, it's quite a battle, but I think that Dake really is a very interesting guy, not for nothing. And when you do look at that match, I mean, Dake did say one thing. If you want to get in the nuts and the bolts of the match this quickly, though, Pyle, I think that Dake said one thing that really kind of hit it on the head when he called him Little Frank. I do think that Frank doesn't quite know what a big animal he's about to take on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a little bit of a mind game because, Frank is very much like, hey, I'm coming up to this weight class. I'm not a 79. I'm coming up here. And so it's kind of a little psychological warfare that I think Dake's playing, calling him Little Frankie, talking about how small he is. And when you consider Kyle Dake's strength and just how what an imposing physical wrestler is, I think maybe a little psychological warfare there. But how do you see this match playing out? Do you have any bold predictions?
Well, you can sit around and talk about, maybe Frank isn't big enough. That's a speculation at best. I mean, Frank, his entire career has done nothing but grow. So I don't know that we really know how big Frank is. In all fairness, it's a tight match. Nobody goes out there and kicks Frank's ass. That's just the truth. And nobody beats Kyle Dake unless that person is named Jordan Burroughs. That's also the truth. So I think we got a real match on our hands. I think it's going to be a little bit tactical. I think that Frank's style of being a counter wrestler and waiting for somebody to attack him, listen, he's not going to have to wait long. Kyle Dake's coming at him. I mean, make no mistake, Kyle Dake is going to come at him. Were we going to get some scrambles? Is going to be some back and forth points? Probably. But Dake also went through a world championship without being scored on, and he almost did it twice. He did win a world championship again the second year, 4-0? I mean, the finals match, the guy didn't score. I'm just saying, Kyle Dake's a really hard guy to try to counter, and if you think that you're going to block him, that's a tough game to play, man. The only guys I've ever done well with Kyle Dake were very high on offense. Frank's a little high on defense. That's my opinion going into the match.
Yeah. No, we were deprived of the Olympic trials and the Olympics this year, but did you have a lean for the 74 kilogram spot between Burroughs and Dake coming into this year?
Yeah, I did, man. I thought Dake was going to beat him every time they've wrestled. Dake came through the very first tournament. What was he, in college, or he was just a couple of months out of college? He comes to that tournament. He throws Burroughs in the 5-point throw that I think was rescored as a 4-point throw. But I thought that Dake had really bust on the scene. Look, history says a 4-time NCAA champ beats a 2-time NCAA champ. That's what history says. Jordan Burroughs says something else. But I have always thought that Dake was going to beat him. I have looked like a fool every time. I mean, Burroughs teched him one time in 41 seconds, for goodness sake. So, but I've listened to what Dake said. I mean, look, Dake has always talked about this mini tournament has changed me. By the time I get to JB, I'm a different guy. Let me go in there a little bit more fresh. I'm awaiting that opportunity as a viewer. I can tell you that.
Yeah. What do you think about the USA Wrestling trials process? Because that's been a big point of contention for Kyle. Now we have Final X, so even if you make the spot, or at least, but it would be different for the trials, but for World Team, you would win the challenge tournament and then a couple weeks later do Final X. But what are your thoughts on how we pick the Olympic team, where one day you do the mini tournament, the next you do the 2 out of 3?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm never one for change. I like the process, and I like things to stay very traditional. But, I mean, I get it. If you're specifically talking about Dake, you do have to roll the calendar back a year. I mean, don't forget, Dake wasn't going to enter the World Championships and go win a gold medal for the country because he was looking forward to the Olympic trials. He was going to go to 74 kilos for those trials, try to knock JB out, get a medal, get himself a better spot in that process. I mean, I think it's relevant. They had to do something. By the way, it's interesting you bring up, Final X in the mini tournament, Piles, because to overlook Imar just by example, there's a number of great guys, but to act as though it's a foregone conclusion that Dake is going to get through Imar, I mean, come on. A lot of guys have tried to get through Imar. It's not quite as easy. I definitely would not call it a foregone conclusion.
No, you're right, and he is the kind of one guy that, when they came on FRL a couple months ago, it was like, the whole point is like these two are going to hit at the trials. And meanwhile, Imar literally took a match from Jordan Burroughs and was seconds away from taking another one. So, yeah, he's definitely a factor in that. Well, the thing for me, and I think why I allow myself to just say it's going to be Burroughs and Dake is I just don't think Imar matches up particularly well against Kyle because I think he's going to need to get to his underhook and these control ties where Jordan is not maybe as great wrestling out of those positions as Kyle will be. So I think it's a stylistic thing, which is why I think I can get there with it's going to be Dake versus Burroughs. But the progression that Imar took from one year to the next against Burroughs was astounding. And now at Oregon State with Coach Pendleton, I'm curious to see if that development continues.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree with you. I think that, the odds makers should make that match. But there's also let's say Dake and Imar matchup, okay, whole tournament let's say that match happens. It's 1 out of 1. It's not a 2 out of 3. We've seen what Imar can do. He can come out of surprise, guys. I realize that Dake and Imar have matched up before. Some people maybe aren't aware of that, but they did match up in a mini tournament a couple of years ago. One match, though, Pyle, 6 minutes. I'm only suggesting for you nothing is a foregone conclusion. I believe we're going to have that match. It's not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, no, I can get with that for sure. Thinking of another Bellator fighter, we've got Darion the Wolf Caldwell on the card, taking on Luke Pletcher. We're all very, very excited for his return. He hasn't wrestled a freestyle match since 2012, but I'm sure you followed his career pretty closely. What are your thoughts on him stepping back into the ring?
Well, first off, I love it. I mean, I think it took some courage, and it also showed a major respect within the wrestling community. Okay, wrestling is one thing that if you do not do, you're not going to get better at. And taking on Luke that's a tall order, but Darion's a competitor. He loves to compete, and I've made a couple of those mistakes too in my wrestling career. All wrestlers will. All wrestlers will take some period of time off, return to competition, and then realize that no matter what kind of shape you're in or how many weights you're lifting or anything that you're doing that's comparable is not specifically wrestling. So, Caldwell is probably going to get one of those reminders, but that's not really what this is about. Caldwell's in great shape. Caldwell loves the sport. This is a way to give back. I mean, I support the entire thing, and quite frankly, at least back in 2012, he matched up pretty well with Luke.
Yeah. It seems to me like he's going to need, and he's been made no secret, like he's going to go out there looking for the pinfall. He's going to try to throw him in his back, hit a cradle, hit a spladle, mixer or something. So I'm anticipating kind of a go for broke mentality from Caldwell in this match.
Yeah, Bob, can I tell you one thing? I mean, speaking of Caldwell, I'm certainly not trying to dismiss him. This is the reason we're having the match. We don't really know what's going to happen. But One thing with the wrestlers who leave and then the wrestlers that come back and then they get embarrassed. But one thing that they all do have in common that Caldwell does not have in common is they change weight classes. Caldwell's one of these guys. He hasn't gotten any bigger since college. He's competing at a lower weight now. He's competing at 135 5 pounds now. That's very relevant because most wrestlers will leave and then they'll wrestle what we call old man wrestling, where it's a strength thing and they try to get the guy in a certain position and it looks good in the practice room, but in competition they're usually a few points behind. Caldwell's not on that level, man. Caldwell hasn't slowed down a bit. Just if you look at the number that the scale is going to read, Caldwell is every bit in his prime. I mean, he's in his physical fit prime. I do expect his feet to be fast. I expect his timing won't be perfect, but I don't think anything's going to be bad there. Caldwell has a very legitimate shot to win that contest.
Yeah. Contrast the physical challenge of a 5-round, 25-minute fight versus a 6-minute match.
It's so difficult. Wrestling was the hardest sport in the world. One of the reasons that wrestlers burst out and did so well, and Dan Severn gets a lot of credit. He kind of got wrestlers started. I don't think that we knew, at least I'll personalize it. I didn't know that we knew a martial arts. I didn't know that wrestling was such a tough and effective thing. I knew it was a tough thing to do. I didn't know how it would match up with other martial arts. And Dan Severn broke that onto the map. But one thing that was so difficult about wrestling is there was just nowhere to hide. If you ever tried to hide, they'd call you stalling. I mean, it's against the rules to back down, to shut your offense down, to not stand your ground, and to not be battling and pushing and pulling with a guy. In fighting, that isn't true. You can back up all you want. There is no stall calls. If you can find a place to rest, go ahead and take it. Nobody's going to say anything. So But when you do bring in the 5 rounds, the 5 rounds of mixed martial arts is very difficult because you don't have an opponent who's trying to score points on you. You have an opponent who's trying to damage you and trying to hurt you. So I will just tell you, if you're talking about cardio, you're talking about the focus that you need to have and be on the entire time, fighting's right up there. Fighting is the only thing I've ever seen that you could even compare to being as difficult as wrestling.
Contrast your mentality, before wrestling a big match or before a big fight. How similar or different was your mindset?
Very, very much the same. Competition was very much the same. And I suppose I loved wrestling more, and I suppose I cared about wrestling more. But the other side of it was I was younger when I wrestled. I think if I had the mindset that I have now that maybe I gained through fighting, some of those wrestling events and tournaments could have been more fun. I've heard guys say they're having fun wrestling. I admire those guys. I don't know if they're lying, but I never had any fun wrestling. Wrestling was important to me, and wrestling was necessary, but fun? Man, I never had a bit of fun. That was hard. Wrestling was very, very – fighting is too, in all fairness. But, fighting, you do it 3 times a year. Wrestling, you're going to do it 5-6 times every tournament, which was every weekend.
Yeah. Didn't you headlock Tito Ortiz? That had to be fun.
Sure, you have your fun moment. Any time off the mat is a fun moment. You hang out with the guys. There's a real camaraderie, and there's things that I would never trade. But I don't always have to have fun. I don't mean to insult wrestling by saying it's not fun. I don't know that everything in life has to be fun. I think that's a bit of a weak mentality and a nuance that I hear today's kids saying, "Oh, this isn't fun." Who gives a goddamn if it's fun? Go out there and do it. What's fun got to do with it? What a bunch of wimps. Parents, let them get away with it. Shame on you too, parents.
Yeah, that's right. No child of mine is going to have fun, if I have anything to say about it.
No, hold on. Paul, that's not how I meant. You get to have fun, but not everything has to be fun to go do, right? You're not going to use that excuse for homework. Well, I don't enjoy math. I don't give a goddamn if you do math. Go add those numbers together, write it down.
There is a weird...
No child of mine is going to have fun. Well done. That was good by you.
No, but I was being, of course, sarcastic there. But it's more of a thing now than I think it was that I remember. It's just like, well, I don't want him to do this because there's some certain aspect. There's just things that are good for you that you're not going to enjoy. So I definitely resonate with you on that one, Chael. Okay, what do you think about this David Taylor Miles Martin match and Miles stepping up late to take on the number 1 guy in the world?
Okay, I have a lot of feelings on it, and there's 2 Miles Martins, and both Miles are very good, but one's great. One is exceptional. I mean, in all fairness, Miles will put on some different performances, and Martin's also a guy that needs a little bit of time. I mean, if you're a guy in wrestling that's beaten Miles, or even you wiped him out, I mean, every now and then he'll get beat 7-1, 7-0, just by example. But if you're one of those guys that did that and you think you can write Miles Martin off, you got the wrong Miles Martin. I mean, he's a guy that learns. He's taking notes at all times, whether it's in the practice room or whether it's in competition. He's always getting closer. And I only bring that up because, Miles is in such a good position. If you want to do anything with an American wrestling in that weight class, you got to get through DT. Everybody knows that. And, I think the fact that Miles is willing to go out there and get this feel and get this experience, I think it's very smart, and I think it's very wise. I also think there's some questions around David Taylor. In all fairness, he hurt his knee. He was out for a meaningful period of time. It was serious enough that he had to miss a world championship, which is his life dream. And in all fairness, when a guy returns, he's got to get his feet wet too. It's not as though David Taylor is perfectly confident going into this match. I imagine he was excited. I imagine he's one of these guys that truly does enjoy wrestling. But to take on Miles Martin, that's a tough night out for anybody. In a worst case scenario for Martin, he's going to be taking notes. He's a detective in this match. He's starting to learn different things. I really respect him for signing up.
Yeah, and thinking about some other big matchups, we get back to the Olympic trials. I haven't got to talk with you about this since it happened, but Jaden Cox was going to go up to 97 kilograms, setting up the ultimate match, him versus Kyle Snyder, one we haven't seen since 2015. What were your thoughts on that potential rivalry getting renewed?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, and I appreciate you saying renew because let's see here. Let's do the math. They wrestled at Fargo in the Junior Nationals. They met up in the U.S. Open in Las Vegas. Now, of course, we're talking 2 freestyle matches. Then they met up in the semifinals at the NCAA tournament. So 3 matches over 2 styles. By the way, they've traded victories back and forth. I mean, that's a huge match. I was blown away, quite frankly. I thought that was a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I thought that Jaden was going to go. I thought we were going to have an incredible match against David Taylor, a match that, in all fairness, needs to be redone. There was plenty of talk that still exists today from their trilogy that they had at the World Team Trial. So anyway, when he goes up and he takes on Kyle Snyder, then you get the backstory that he's going to go and doing some training at Ohio State. I also really respect what Cox said. And Cox wasn't aggressive in the least. He said, look, I need to be at my best. I need guys to bring it out of me. I found the guy that can bring it out of me, Kyle Snyder. So if I'm going to leave the country and attempt to win a gold medal, I need to be motivated before I do it. I'm gonna go up and take him on, man. I thought that was an awesome story, just because it was so serious. It was so sincere. Jaden Cox is just one of these really real guys. If Jaden Cox tells you I'm going after Snyder because I think he'll bring the best out of me, for anybody else that'd be hype. For Cox, he's just telling you the answer, and I respected it. I couldn't wait for that. I still can't wait for that match.
Yeah, but we got to wait a little bit, but it's going to happen. And that's one where there's not probably an Imar waiting in the wings there, right? Like someone that it's just like it's been very clearly Kyle at 97 for the last several years, and he's not really been challenged domestically. So it's almost really a foregone conclusion that's going to happen. Did you have a lean either way?
Well, yeah, I have. And, Pyle, I've gone back and forth, and I'll probably go back and forth again. I mean, there's something to be said for a weight class. When Schneider's at a weight class and he's taken it over and he's put his foot down, I think that's very real. But the other side of it is Cox really hasn't been that size in a minute. I mean, I hear training stories. I hear when these guys are at Colorado Springs getting ready to go up to the World Championships and they're working out together. And I hear that it's favoring Schneider, but that's a little bit different. You know, that those 20 pounds matter. These aren't 20 pounds in the heavyweight division where you grab 20 and where you can do it. Jaden Cox is going to grab 20 pounds of steel. All right, we've all seen him. The guy looks like he was carved out of clay. He looks like a Greek god. When he gets back up to that weight class, I do think that those matches are going to be different. And much like I was telling you about Miles Martin, where he's doing detective work. He's storing things away at all times for this match with David Taylor. Win or lose, but he's going to store things away. I trust that Cox did the same thing. I mean, if he was in those workouts with Schneider and he had any kind of a vision for 2020, which is now 2021, he was taking notes himself. And, I do look forward to that match. I think there's something special to see there.
Yeah.
And plus, Plow, to your point, if we get that match twice in one day. At least twice in one day. The trials are the greatest. The trials are the greatest wrestling thing ever because of that reason.
Yes. That is the real treat of it. And you know the thing we are deprived because to have one is to not have the other. No Jaden Cox versus David Taylor, which is, as you mentioned, a trilogy that should be renewed. It was controversial. It was close. David won handily the first one and lost two. The last two to not make the team, and a crazy rivalry. And I think that's one thing that maybe wrestling needs is like the extension of these stories and these rivalries, and not that it just happens one time in 2017 and then you kiss it goodbye. Run it back, right?
Oh yeah. Hey, I think wrestling's doing a better job with the stories. I mean, don't forget, month ago, 4 months ago, the biggest match you could possibly make was Schneider versus Cox, but now all of a sudden Dake has made things very interesting with Burroughs. I only offer you that by an example, but there's a lot going on in these matches. There's a lot going on in these athletes' minds, and I think it is incumbent. I think it's very valuable that they come out and share it with us. Look, you're putting your life on hold for a goal and a dream, and you got another guy that's doing the exact same thing. That's a very compelling story. We don't all have to bow to each other and get along. Let's go to the cafeteria and have dinner. No, man, we're competing. We're battling. Tell us what you're feeling. I think that, Flo, you, Bader, the guys over there, man, you guys have done a very special job with that. And these athletes shouldn't feel bad for telling their story. I saw where Dake was getting pushback on some of the comments he made about Burr. How are you going to give him pushback? That's called being honest. That's how he feels inside. And he's willing to stop his life and put everything on the line, walk in front of the world in a singlet, and go against the greatest wrestler to ever exist. Good for Dake. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with him saying he wants to stab the bear? Good for him if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that, Pyle? I mean, all these guys want to stab the bear. Some of them just don't have the courage to do it, and none of them have ever had the courage to come out and say it. They all want to stab the bear.
Yeah.
Dake has the courage to come out and say it ahead of time. Come on, man. That's honorable. People are going to turn on Dake, say he's a jerk for doing that. That's called being honest. It was a nice change of pace, in my opinion.
Well, I hesitated, I guess, because I sound very self-interested when I say, "Hey, yeah, more of that candor," right? Obviously, that's what I want. Obviously, that's good for us. That's good for that's good, in my opinion, it's good for wrestling. That kind of the animosity that in a healthy way. I mean, it's healthy that Dake feels that way. He's not literally stabbing, but he does want to end Jordan Burroughs, right? I think that's great, but I also don't want to say, I also am kind of like trying to be a little cautious there. But yeah, more of that is necessary. And the candor, I think it's good for him. While it will, maybe it'll turn some people away from Kyle, but it's going to create the additional interest about him, just like you did. There were probably a lot of people that tuned in to watch you lose because of the things you were saying, but you increased the interest about yourself and and at the end of the day, that's what's going to ultimately be of a benefit to you financially, right?
Did you say he's not literally going to stab him? I mean, do we have to do that now? We're in that kind of a okay. Yeah, he's not literally going to stab. Oh, by the way, Jordan Burroughs is not literally a bear. Okay, do you feel better about this whole thing now? Listen, I'm not talking about trash talk. You're talking about animosity and trash. This is competition at its highest level. This is the way guys feel on their couch. This isn't something new. Flo has done a great job of bringing in cameras and asking guys questions and putting it out to the world, and that's all that Dake did. Dake answered the questions that he was asked, and he does have a chip on his shoulder, not just because he's lost to Burroughs, but Dake did not lose to Burroughs in totally level playing fields. I mean, from Dake's perspective, he's going, look, I came through these mini tournaments, man. I took on 4 and 5 guys in a day. This guy's sitting out here fresh. I never got a fair shake at him. I think that's a reasonable argument. Nobody did anything wrong. The rules were followed. Jordan Burroughs, preserved and was in that position for a very good reason. Same reason other guys try to preserve and sit in that position. But for Dake to share that he thought my best versus his best is something that hasn't been tested, and it's going to be closer to being tested this time. I don't know that Dake told that specific part of it that well, so maybe I'm doing that for him. But that's what Dake was talking about. When he was talking about Jordan Burroughs is going to take every opportunity that he can have. Yeah, of course he is. But that, just for your viewer, Pyle, that's what he was talking about. He's talking about, man, I had to go through this mini tournament, and this guy gets to sit out fresh. You haven't seen me versus Jordan. You've seen a tired me versus a fresh Jordan. Now you're going to see me and JB stick around and see what happens. I thought that was a compelling storyline because I think it's fair. I think that's a very fair statement.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's indisputable. It will have a negative impact, and it's also the point. The point is that, yeah, you've got to be so much better than this guy to beat him that you've got to go through this and then get it done. What do you think? Dake has a very unique methodology about his entire life, right? How he eats, how he trains. He doesn't like to do traditional weightlifting. He does functional patterns. What do you think about how he's kind of like blazed his own trail in many ways in the sport of wrestling, how he's going to get himself ready for competition?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I would not encourage somebody else to copy this functional patterns. All right, look, a little bit bizarre in all fairness, but if you believe it, I mean, what bad comes from a workout? What bad comes from doing functional patterns if the other option is you sit on your couch? Look, the guy's a multiple-time world champion, and if you believe something is real, I mean, it's the old George Costanza joke from Seinfeld, but it's not a lie. If you believe it, look, there's a lot of truth to that. If you think you're doing something or you think you've got a secret, that can be very beneficial. Not to mention we're in a pandemic, so that whatever Dake can cling to and go out there and do. I just watched 20 minutes of him and Gabe Dean in a garage workout. I thought it was fantastic, but these are what the world champions do. They find a way. They don't have excuses. They just get the job done, man. Dake's an inspiration. Some of his training, good for him if he believes it's going to work. Good for him. The Cornell diet has served many guys very well. At the end of the day, that's a two-time world champion. Who are you to question him?
Certainly not. As you evaluate, I don't even know if you do this, but consider prospects for MMA and you watch wrestlers. Are there any wrestlers you watch you're like, this guy would be great? And are there any like great wrestlers that you're like, this would not actually translate to MMA?
Well, I've always been surprised. I've always been surprised when a wrestler can't translate to MMA. Steve Mocco comes to mind. And it's not as though he couldn't translate. He didn't really give it a full fair shake out there and stay busy. But when you have a monster like Mocco that can push hard, he can outwork everybody, he's a relatively rough guy just going around, you never really calculate, well, he's also a very big guy. And that size is going to slow him down. And when you're a target in a sport like this, that can work against you. And so some of those things were always surprises to me. That wasn't meant to be a knock, by the way, but I did think, as you would too, that Mocco was going to come in and just take the world over. It's just not what happened. So, there's plenty of wrestlers I see. Look, Pyle, it's not like it was in the 90s. There was a time in the 90s when if you were a better wrestler than your opponent, you were going to win in mixed martial arts. But that went away a long time ago. I mean, that was gone by 2002, 2003. That became a base for mixed martial arts. But now, I mean, it's its own sport. These guys all respect wrestling. They needed to learn to respect wrestling, but they do. And that was back in the 90s. Some of these guys weren't even born when the Dan Severns and the Don Frys were putting us all on the map. And the only reason I offer you that because, when they did finally enter a practice room for the very first time, they knew I gotta defend wrestling, and they work on things and styles to do it. So as much as I love wrestling, I want to tell you wrestling's the hardest sport, and I think I'm right. I think it is the toughest sport. Man, it's nothing more than a base now. That sport of mixed martial arts is really its own thing, in all truth.
So Ben Askren is trying to make Bo Nickel retire from wrestling. It's his life goal now, I believe. He wants him to go straight to MMA. He thinks he's wasting his time trying to make the team. He's saying, just stop. I don't agree. I think Bo Nickel has a great chance of making the Olympic trials finals. If you get there, anything can happen, right? But how do you view Bo Nickel?
Well, now that's very interesting. I'm not sure that Askren's wrong, and I know Nickel does have an interest. He's out at the ATT. He got a lot of credit for helping George Masvidal, who, by the way, looked great with his wrestling scrambles and wrestling defense. I would also very much like to see Nickel in that sport. I mean, Nickel is a tweener, not for nothing, but he is right in between weight classes. Is he going to go up, is he going to go 96? Is he going to go 86? What's he going to do? Is it 97, 86? Mm-hmm. I think that's a hard spot for a guy to be in, particularly when the trials are only a number of months away. Oh, and by the way, the next meaningful trials is 4 years after that. I mean, I do hear the argument. Nickel, in many ways, has served the world of wrestling. He has done his job. Can I tell you something on Bo Nickel? When Bo Nickel entered the NCAA as a freshman, they ranked him number 20. He was ranked I was so mad. I am still mad about that. Bo Nickel, as a senior in high school from Texas, entered the junior world team trials. By the way, made the finals. By the way, right into a guy you might have heard of that was an NCAA champion named Gabe Dean, and he lost to him 3-2. And you're going to tell me that Nickel, you can go right now on YouTube. He's had 3 matches with Mark Hall, 2 of which he won. They ranked him number 20. How does a guy go 3-2 in the World Team Trial Finals with the NCAA champion? You're going to put him at number 20? I'm still upset about that ranking. So when you talk about Bo Nickel and what should Bo Nickel do, Bo Nickel can go do any goddamn thing he wants to. I do want to see him at the trials. He's put his life into this. The trials are right around the corner. I want to see him at the trials. Is he also going to have a great and fun career in MMA? I hope so.
Well, this could add a little more animosity to this call.
No, excuse me, Pyle. You're the one that ranked him.
I know.
I said they ranked him 20. You're the one that ranked him 20. You're not going to come out now with some level of an apology?
Explain yourself.
How do you rank a guy that beat Mark Hall and went 3-2 in the World Title Finals with the current NCAA champion as a senior in high school? You're going to put him at 20?
With no
you feel
hesitation.
A little bit foolish. What, did you miss that match or something? How do you put him at 20?
Listen, very easily, okay? You rank only when you're doing college rankings, you only rank it based on college folk style results. So all your examples, I throw them out. Okay? Now, with that in mind, there's the rule.
You're making the rules. Why
yes!
would you make a rule
That's
like
the best
that?
part. That's the best part. Because if you open up the freestyle and high school stuff, it's Pandora's box, and it's impossible to do. And also, when you do a preseason ranking,
it's impossible to do. It's impossible to do.
Impossible.
What do you mean it's impossible to? Okay, excuse me. Let me give you a scenario. Aaron Pico enters college next year. 0 collegiate matches. What are you going to rank him? 20? Aaron Pico's number 20?
no, unranked.
What? Listen to what you're doing to the other guys. If he's unranked, he's going to be unseated. Aaron Pico's just floating around the Midlands bracket. He's floating around the Southern Scuffle bracket. That's not right. That's not right.
1, they can seed him and rank him however they want. 2, by November 23rd, he's probably going to be in the top 10, and by New Year, he'll probably be number 1, right? So we're literally talking about a 1-month stretch where the ranking is maybe for a very small number of guys. But broadly, this approach yields the most accurate rankings. And, by the way, if you're going to bring up the Southern Scuffle, I'm sure no one's going to be happy to hear this in the nickel camp, but the man lost to Andy McCulley 4-3 in tiebreakers. Okay, that's not a great loss to have. He didn't have hardly any ranked wins that true freshman season. So it'd be like that sometimes, but I stand by the ranking, Chael.
You stand by the World Team Trial finalist. Okay, finalist. Number 20 in the country. Come on, man. That's not the way it should be. I'm just saying, I mean, you have a little bit of egg on your face. This isn't a debate of who's right or who's wrong. You put the number 20 guy in the country who, by the way, won the damn championship. I am the one who's right here.
He was ranked number 2 by November 15th because he beat Zach Epperly that day.
Sure.
So immediately after.
No, I understand that.
2 weeks.
Eventually.
You're just impatient. Let the process play out.
I happen to follow the sport. I think FloWrestling matters. I mean, you're going to hear all these coaches. One of the worst things that a coach says, and a coach feels really good about saying, the only thing that matters is March. What a bunch of crap. Then why are we doing the other match? What do you mean only thing that matters is March? I mean, that is one of the most terrible messages I've ever heard. It's a long season. Those guys deserve credit for every single thing that they do. Every match matters. They wonder why they can't fill up arenas, but they're coming out the other side. They're going, well, the only thing that matters is March. What a bunch of crap, man. That is not true. I remember plenty of things that happened in March, and you get a lot of credit and a lot of lifelong respect for it. I remember things that happened in February, in January, in June, in July. Remember all of this stuff. For these coaches to come out and say it really isn't fair.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not fair because it's not true, and it's against the sport. You know, these coaches, they always wonder, how come this program's getting cut, and how come we can't make any money, and how come nobody comes out to watch us? And then they come out and they tell anybody to listen, the only thing that matters is March. What? You're an idiot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree, and it really shrinks the sport immediately. Immediately, you've limited the sport that is already limited. It's like, no, we need regular things of interest for fans, and if the coaches treat it that way, and that's the message they say. And I understand for an athlete saying that for perspective that they're kind of that self-talk, like, okay, I took a loss at the Scuffle, I took a loss in November, but what's going to define my season is March. But that's not the message that I think the fans should be hearing, right? It's okay if that's your perspective and how you are moving forward, but for the sport, it needs to be different if we're trying to get it to where we want it to go. We can't just limit ourselves to 3 days in March.
Sure. No, well, it's a ridiculous message in the first place. And I do, to the point that you made, in all fairness, I do get that. Look, a kid gets beat. A kid's a little down and out because of something that happened over on a side tournament, and the coach tries to bring him back. Hey, forget about that. We're learning. We're getting better, and we want to focus on March. Of course, I understand that. But to broadly put that out as the only thing that matters is March, well, that's ridiculous, man. All these things matter. These guys are cutting weight. These guys are working hard. To look at what a wrestler goes through, man. It is the most honorable sport I've ever seen, and they do not get the credit for it. We're sitting here discussing should Bo Nickel pursue a dream or go after another dream. I mean, in all fairness, Bo has given to us more than he ever owed us. I mean, Bo has given us more memories. He's done every opportunity to represent this country, go overseas, win medals for. I mean, in many ways, we do owe Bo. So if Bo's telling us, look, and he's not, but if Bo was to tell us, I'm done and I'm going in this direction, then we all need to go with him. We all need to support him. But there's a number of wrestlers like that wrestle the whole season, all three styles. They go to every tournament. They don't duck competition. To come out and say the only thing that matters is Mark. Come on, man. That's a bunch of crap. They all matter. You tell me Fargo doesn't matter?
Yeah.
You tell me the trials don't matter? You tell me the Midlands, the scuffles don't matter? They all matter. They all matter.
Right on. Is there? I'm all over the place. Is there a time you're too old to enter MMA? Because the topic of Dake getting into fighting has come up a little bit, and I'm curious if you think is his time past?
No chance. But you said Kyle Dake. Is there a number that passes that's too old to enter MMA? Yeah, I would think so, and I wouldn't be able to tell you what that number is exactly. And people love to defer back to Randy Couture, who had his first practice, let alone competition, at 34 years old and went on and won world championship. That's all good and well, but I think that was a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Look, back up to Kyle Dake, okay? Because, excuse me, this is a once-in-a-lifetime attraction. And in all fairness, when Kyle Dake is doing something, I'll sit back and say, I don't know what's happening, but something is happening. Anytime I see Kyle Dake on the screen, something's about to happen. Kyle Dake, let me just remind you of this, okay? Kyle Dake entered one Greco-Roman match in the last 10 years. Since I think he wrestled as a cadet, never wrestled Greco again, took on a world champion out in New York for fun. By the way, the score of that match was 5-3 in Greco-Roman, of which he does not practice. Kyle Dake can do anything. Kyle Dake is special. He is different. Kyle Dake was just doing a workout, like at the park, and somebody had Muay Thai mitts and Dake was throwing kicks. He captioned it. He put it out on an Instagram. But he said, this is my first day working on kicks. How am I doing? How was he doing? He was about a 7 out of 10. And if he's telling the truth and that was his first day, man, Kyle Dake's a natural. Kyle Dake's a winner. You like Kyle Dake, you don't like Kyle Dake, shove it up your ass. That guy's a winner.
You love Kyle Dake. I've learned that on this show.
Yeah, I do love Kyle Dake.
You love it.
Yeah, I do love Kyle Dake. You want to know why I love Kyle Dake? You want to know why I love... Kyle Dake gets in a body lock. Okay, he's taking on Reese Humphrey in the NCAA finals. He's a freshman. He goes for a sag body lock, and he misses it. Humphrey stops him. Now, Dake is this close to the mat with Humphrey on top of him. This is the limbo to the highest of level. Okay, he's doing the limbo with Reese Humphrey on top of him. Somehow he stood back up. I have no idea how this happened. This was magical. You go back, you watch that match. Kyle Dake defied physiology and stood back up at 18 years old in the NCAA finals with Reese Humphrey on top of him. Come on, man. Yes. I like Kyle Dake.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Big.
Are you half asleep over there, Piles? I feel like I'm carrying the show. Oh, well, you heard it here first. Oh, well, you heard it here. What kind of a reaction?
I'm teeing you up. Listen.
Do you not remember this match? I feel like you
okay, Chael. He didn't wrestle Reese Humphrey in the NCAA finals. It was Montel Marion. But I'm trying to be kind to you because you're a co-host, and I'm not trying to correct you in front of everyone. He didn't wrestle Reese Humphrey in the NCAA finals. It was Iowa Hawkeye Montel Marion.
No, he wrestled Montel Marion. He was in the NCAA finals 4 times. When he was a freshman, he wrestled Reese Humphrey. Are you kidding me?
All right, Chael, let's go to school. Learn real quick. Just my turn.
Are you kidding me?
He wrestled Reese Humphrey in the semis. He wrestled Montel Marion in the finals. And
that's fake news. He wrestled Montel in the finals at different years. He wrestled Reese Humphrey in the finals.
No. 1,000 times
what?
No. He wrestled. Here's his NCAA final opponent.
1,000 times, yes. This is why you rank guys that are second in the junior trials at number 20 in college, because you don't remember these things.
Chill. You are factually incorrect. What? He wrestled Humphrey in the semis, Marion in the finals. His sophomore year, he wrestled Molinaro in the finals. His junior year was St. John in the finals. His senior year was David Taylor in the finals.
Nobody knows. We're just going to have to agree. This is something
nobody knows.
There's
We can
no
pull
way
up.
to know.
All right, here we go. Send Tyler,
No,
the
that's
Montel
impossible.
Marion, Kyle Dake, NCAA Finals. We'll send you the bracket. We can get it notarized. Do you have a good notary, Chael? We can get a.
Oh, you pulled it off the internet? What, you think everything on the internet is... Look,
I watched it.
Look, guys.
Unlike you, I watched it live and remember what was happening.
I also watched it. I just told you a move that had happened, okay? Excuse me.
That happened to Montel Marion. I'm going to show you that move. When he got body locked, he ended up on his back and he came out on top.
As a sophomore. I'm talking about his freshman year. When he had
sophomore year was Molinaro.
No. Oh, no. Excuse me. One of us is wrong here. That we can agree on, yes?
All right, hold on. Kyle Brecky, who is wrong?
Chael, Christian is right and Chael is wrong here.
No, fake news. There's going to be no way to know for sure, right? There's going to be there's just simply no way to know. But when he popped up and did a limbo with Reese Humphrey on his chest at 18 years old, come on, man. What was that, like 141 pounds?
Yeah, you're right about that. It was 141 pounds. You are wrong.
Yeah.
We got the bracket. We can pull up the match.
Excuse me, fake bracket, right? We're simply never gonna know. In all fairness, there's no way to know. We don't know, and there's no way to find out.
And Chael, I feel terrible about this because I wasn't gonna. I'm
on this screen. I feel like my head's cut down. I got a shadow. You're not telling me. I feel like you're trying to outshine me. Can you see
there?
Me
That's
on this
better.
thing?
That's better.
Well, I can't stand like this all day, Pyle. And now.
Well, what do you want me to do? This is your setup.
I know he had Montel Marion. That was called his sophomore year. I'm talking about when he did the limbo with Reese Humphrey on his chest as a freshman.
This is freshman year. Okay, do you know that Kyle Dake won 4 titles at 4 different weight classes? Right?
Of course I know that.
Okay, well, Montel Marion wrestled at 141.
Yeah.
Okay, so how was it his sophomore year?
I'm not into your trick wordplay. I'm telling you what happened.
That's just great.
Right now. Call Dake right now. Or call Reese, even better. Call Reese right now. Maybe they don't remember it, right? Maybe they don't remember it. Maybe I'm the only one that remembers. But I'm telling you, that's what happened. This is one of these we may never know. Can you see? I feel like you're trying to crop my head off of this.
No,
this
right there's good. Well, no, that's bad. That's half your face. It's got to be higher. Right now, I can't see your whole face.
What do you mean higher? I gotta be higher.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. That's good. You're in frame right now. That looks great. We're gonna test your quad strength here. There's the bracket right there. Kyle made that just now for me.
Yeah, there's the bracket. Yeah, that FloWrestling made. FloWrestling is an organization that put Bo Nickel at number 20. You think I'm going to accept that as evidence? I some letters and names on a screen versus this, the most treasured thing in all of wrestling. Right here. This is what I'm going with.
I do treasure your mind, Chael. I feel bad that you brought that out of me. You're our guest, right? And in Virginia, you treat your guests well. And if they say something that's wrong, you don't correct them. That's not a way. That's not good manners. That's not how I was raised. But then you have to throw a little barb at me, and I had to just mercilessly destroy you in front of everyone. I don't feel great about it, but it had to be done. It had to be done.
No, you're trying to say he wrestled Montel Marion. That's like trying to tell me, no, he didn't. That's not true. He wrestled David Taylor. No, I understand all of those things. These were 4 separate years. That was his sophomore year he took on Montel Marion. I'm talking about his freshman year. He took on Reese Humphrey.
He did wrestle. Yes, you're right. And that's maybe the confusion because he did wrestle Reese his freshman year, but it wasn't in the finals. It was the semis.
Yes, it was. It was in the finals. Yes, it was.
It was
There's simply no way to know. That's what's crazy.
We got the video though.
We've got the video.
We got the video, and I think this is the sequence you were talking about too.
I don't need your doctored videos, and I don't need your doctored brackets. I had this.
All right.
I had this.
Well, we'll just have
finals.
Well, if we can play it, we'll play it. If not, you know what? I might see Kyle Dake today, and you know what? Maybe he could settle. He may not even know himself. This could be.
No one knows. That's the thing. There's no way to know for sure.
Okay, wait.
This is a mystery that simply can't be solved.
I think this is the sequence Chael was talking about anyways.
Yes. In the
here we go. Here we go.
NCAA finals on that beautiful green mat.
On the big stage.
Look at him,
On the
just a
big
boy.
on the big stage here. Look at him. Left and right. Left and
Look
right.
at it, back and forth. Back and forth. Oh, that wasn't the move. That was no limbo. That's old kid. Whoa, he came right out of that without an arm. Trapped arm. And
How do you do that?
That's 18 years old, man. This guy's different. Reese Humphrey's amongst the best athletes in wrestling. You ever seen Reese like do gymnastics and stuff?
Yeah, he's crazy. He can do it all.
Let me give you a quick story. We were talking earlier about Bo Nicklin kind of being in between weight. So that happened to Reese Humphrey. So he's got to move up to 145, not where he wanted to be. Goes over to Cuba, okay? Reese Humphrey runs into Aaron Pico, gets tech-falled, took notes, stored them away, comes back. They meet up in the consolation semifinals at the U.S. Open. Reese Humphrey teched Aaron Pico. So you have a 20-point swing. He went from getting teched to teching Pico. But, I mean, don't tell me only March matters.
Yeah. No.
Reese was storing things away over in Cuba. He was storing things away. He pulled them out of his pocket when he needed them. He had a 20-point swing. Do you remember when Valencia, by the way, Anthony Valencia busted onto the scene? He was like a senior in high school or just out, and he ended up third in the Open. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
Was in the semifinals. Okay, so to get third, he teched Tyler Caldwell.
Facts.
And which was shocking. Like, oh my goodness. But he hit him with everything. He hit him with like a 4-point double leg and like a 4-point lateral drive. One of these things. But he teched Tyler Caldwell. They meet up 6 weeks later at the trials. Caldwell techs him. And I only bring that up because you're talking about a 20-point swing. A 20-point swing that you stored away because of something that happened in Vegas on a little side match that you then pulled out when you needed it. And coaches are going to come out and say the only thing that matters is March. What a bunch of wimps, man. What a prick message.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Are you ready to apologize about this whole semifinal and Montel Marion? Are you ready to say something? Are you not man enough to do that?
Well, here it is. Here's the match. Oh, look, does this look like the... It says National Championship, NCAA Finals.
Yes.
Is this Reese Humphrey or is that Montel Marion?
Right there. Oh, look at that. It's a blue mat, dog. That's what I was talking about. Now, this is sophomore year. This is a different year.
No, it's not.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, look at Kid Dynamite. Look at Kid Dynamite's coming out. Look where he knows. He knows where his toes are.
Wow.
He gets his toes inside me. A Kid Dynamite special.
It says 141-pound national championship here, but
hey, don't tease them. They did the best they could. So what? They screwed up the graphic pile. Don't be a jerk to somebody in the editing room.
Dake does get younger every day.
He is getting younger,
yeah,
baby.
People get things wrong all the time.
Oh my gosh, this has been a wild ride. Okay, no, I'm not ready to apologize yet.
A wild ride of truth. You guys are sitting over there trying to rewrite history. I'm telling you what happened. This is what I have. Can we agree?
Okay.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Just between us, we can edit this out. Between us, though, as men, can we agree somebody here is wrong? Can we agree on that?
Yes.
We can.
I accept your apology. Right, moving on. Hey, by the way, is there an elephant in the room on Pat Downey? I've never fully heard you address this. What the heck is going on with Downey? So he gets into a dispute on Twitter with about girls in Greco-Roman, right? Am I missing something? Is this where we're at?
That did happen, but that's not why he's not on the card.
More to the story, you're saying?
More to the story.
All right. I like a tease. I can live with the tease.
Yeah, I'll talk to you afterwards.
But people like Downey, don't they? Like the people that meet Downey and hang out, they like Downey. Downey's a popular guy. Isn't that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. Very fair.
Yeah.
I've never been around Pat Downey and been like, I don't like this guy. But there's a
And I know Pat a little bit. I'll insert myself in this. He came out to Oregon. And this is before he went off to the juniors and got the world medal and everything. Yeah. Oh my God, this guy's great. This is before all that. He was right out of high school, and he came out to Oregon. I apologize, he wasn't even out of high school. He was coming out of high school. And Josh Roden, coach of Clackamas Community College (CCC), was recruiting him, and Downey even committed. He liked it. He liked the campus and the college and the program. And then something happened where he ended up not enrolling. I want to say he went to Nebraska instead, but there was something that happened. But I met him when he was just a kid, man. He was a cool guy then. Not full of personality and energy, and he'd look me in the eye and smile. And I don't know. I kind of feel like Downey gets a little bit of a rough rap because he likes to have a little bit of fun on Twitter. What's wrong with that? Come on.
Yeah, no, nothing to do with Twitter. That's for sure. I think wrestling. There's a line there, but I think wrestling needs personalities and it needs candor and it needs someone to root against as much as you need someone to root for and someone that's polarizing. Sure. And that's Pat Downey. And disappointing the way the whole thing played out for sure. But Miles Martin is the real deal, so we're excited for that match as well. We can talk about that later. Hey, let's. So we do a portion. I don't know if you listen to the show, but we're gonna do.
Excited for that match. We're excited for that match as well. We like that match. So
you sound like Putty from Seinfeld.
Please tune in. Oh, yeah, Putty.
Yes, got sports team. I know you're a Seinfeld guy.
I do. Come on, everybody enjoyed Seinfeld. That was a fun show.
Great show. Do
you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
A few episodes. I like it. It's not a love connection yet.
Okay. Did you have love connection with Seinfeld?
Love it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Really? See, I feel like if you like one, you would.
Well, same writer. Larry David. Yeah. I do like it. It's a little more crass than it's a lot more crass than Seinfeld, but I like the humor. I do enjoy it. Yes, I love the improv. I think it's a good show. Curb's good.
Sure.
Just not my favorite.
I agree.
Okay, we got questions from friends. This is a segment we do. And the first one from Bailey Brown wants to know, who is Chael's favorite wrestler to watch and why? Is it still John J. Chavez? Are you still on John J. Chavez Island, just you and Chael and John J.?
Chavez is one of my favorite wrestlers, yeah. Now, I believe he is out of eligibility. Is that correct? He's out of court. Right. And he's done a couple of years ago, but he did get All-American, which yes. I was thrilled to see. He was one of these guys that dedicated to Greco-Roman, and Greco-Roman, as much as I enjoy that sport, doesn't perfectly translate to collegiate. A lot of people will tell you that it does to get you to come in and practice Greco-Roman, but it's really not true. And so when a guy like Chavez goes out there and got it done, yeah, man, I thought he was very special. He was very fun to watch, particularly in the juniors. I mean, that guy, when he was in Fargo, you were watching another level.
Yeah.
He ran into Chandler in the finals just by example. He texts Chandler 10 or 11-0 quickly and gets out of it. But it was a different level. It was a different sport the way that Chavez was wrestling it back in those days. So, yes, I am very much a Chavez fan, I must tell you. I met him, by the way. He was out in Oregon. I happened to meet him in a restaurant, had a meal with him. But nice guy on top of everything else.
Yeah.
My favorite wrestler, though, it's a tough one. I would acknowledge that Jordan Burroughs is either the best wrestler I have ever seen or the second. I would still hold John Smith at number one, but I really do like to watch. Dake wrestle. I like that Dake is moving weight classes. I like that they had that world weight, and now he's going to slide back down and get us some new parity. So I would say a number of guys. I'm a big David Taylor fan. I like David Taylor so much that I found out he was doing a workout in Las Vegas, and I went over to it just to watch him work out. It's a thing of beauty, right? The way David Taylor moves. It's a very beautiful style. And beauty is not really a word that you can use in wrestling very often, certainly not one that I can. Taylor wrestles with a beautiful style. He'll be on your head, he'll be on your ankle, he'll be on both knees. I mean, there's a lot going on there when DT's at it.
Yeah, he's smooth. Do you still think Sean Haig is the greatest high school wrestler ever?
Are you disputing that, you son of a... Sean Haig is the greatest high school wrestler ever. I'm not even friends with Sean Haig. I can't get a hold of Sean Haig right now. Have you told the audience about Sean Haig? Excuse me. He never lost a junior match. Do you guys do a triple crown in whatever godless state that you live in? Do you guys have... Do you even know what a triple crown is? Is that something we just do out here in Oregon?
Yeah, I don't think they have it. If they have it in Texas, it's not a topic of discussion.
Okay, so in Oregon, it's a very big deal because not only is it coveted, but it's very rare. And what a triple crown would mean, excuse me, you win the high school state tournament and collegiate. You then win the freestyle and you win the Greco. You win all three styles. You are now the triple crown winner. Sean Haig won the triple crown 4 times. Sean Haig entered the cadet nationals only as a freshman. Entered in both styles, by the way, at 191 pounds, a very real weight class, okay? It is significantly different because now you are wrestling the older guys. You're not just wrestling, freshmen. Okay. He wins that in both styles, so then he only goes to junior nationals after that. He had a year of cadets left. He didn't do it. They weren't side by side. Cadets used to be in Missouri, juniors over in Fargo. They weren't side by side, so he had to choose. Then he flies out, sophomore, junior, senior, enters Fargo in collegiate, or I call it freestyle and Greco-Roman, enters Fargo 6 times, wins Fargo 6 times. By the way, enters the Junior World Championships and wins a Junior World medal. Sean Haig never lost a junior match. And plenty of guys have never lost a junior match. Right? My wife has never lost a junior match. Of course, she never wrestled one. Sean Haig wrestled everything there was. He entered every tournament that there was, all the way to the World Championships. You're going to act as though he's not. Come on, Sean Haig's the best. Oh, by the way, you want to know something else? You're sitting around talking about who the great college wrestlers are. You want to know who you always leave off, Pyle? And I'm about had it. You leave off Eric Guerrero. And you want to know why? You want to know why this is wrong? Eric Guerrero never redshirted. That's why. You can talk about the Pat Smiths and the Steeblers and the Kales and the Dakes of the world. They all redshirted.
No, he did. Kyle Dake did not redshirt. Right out the gate. Do you know anything about Kyle Dake? Do you know a single fact?
You're distracting me. I'm talking to you about Eric Guerrero.
Okay, you said Kyle Dake didn't redshirt. He did.
Excuse me. Eric Guerrero at 18 years old was 5th in the NCAA. He was then champion. Oh, and by the way, he even ran into Stephen Abbas on a dual meet in Fresno one of the times. I mean, Eric Guerrero should be recognized for what he was. Eric Guerrero might be the best collegiate wrestler ever. He might be. He really might be. There's a number of guys you could say that about. If you don't say that about Eric Guerrero, you're a prick.
Okay. There we go. I don't want to be accused of that. Believe me, it's happened before. You'll be surprised to learn. But yes,
cut my face off on this thing, Pyle. Every time I keep showing you up on trivia, I see that my forehead is showing.
You think I'm producing the show? It's your own device, Chael. However you position yourself in relative to it is how it'll look.
How come every time you and I get in a little back and forth, you bring facts into it? What is that? Why do you always do that?
I want to tell the Sean Haig.
Oh, this is what happened. What happened is whatever I say happened, Kyle.
So
you're cropping me out to make me look like a fool.
No, it's impossible. It can't be done. But I want to talk about Sean Haig a little bit because before I ever met Chael, ever knew Chael, he saw an article on Intermat that was written in 2005. He thought it was on FloWrestling, and he thought that I wrote it. And he had Martin reach out to me, or he reached out to Martin to talk to me, and he ranted about how I wrote this article and didn't include Sean Haig. I didn't write the article. The article was written in 2005 by Justin Kerr on Intermat, and he was mad at me. But I did learn a lot about Sean Haig, and I didn't know that much about him, but the whole thing was predicated on something that was maybe not exactly the case, but I'm glad that it happened, Chael, because look at what's blossomed out of that phone call.
Sure. No, I fully agree. Look, Sean Haig does deserve, though, to be remembered for what he was. And I really believe you could talk about best and have a real fun conversation on that. Most decorated, come on. You got to offer me somebody that never lost a match. Did all 3 styles. Did collegiate, freestyle, Greg, entered every tournament there was, including overseas tournament. This guy never lost. And this isn't like folklore like you hear about in 1904. This just happened. This guy graduated in 1995 from high school. He never lost, man. It's very tough for me to hear people argue who the great high school wrestlers were and they just leave Sean out of it. I just simply don't know how that can happen. The guy won a world gold medal for the country. Have a little bit of appreciation, please.
Amen. Okay, more questions. If Askren didn't lose to Masvidal, do you think he'd be the current UFC champion?
I most certainly did think that, yes. And not only did I think that, but I believe that Kamaru Usman also saw Askren as the problem. You know, bring me anybody you want, but don't bring me Ben was kind of a theme around there. Ben's just a handful, man, and he's not going to go away. You know, Masvidal did the only thing you can do to Ben to get him out of there, which is you got to knock him out. You know, some guys you just got to kill because they're not going to quit. Askren's just not going to quit. He's never going to get tired. He's never not going to come off his stool. He's never going to quit bothering you. He's never going to quit trying to beat you. He's one of these masterful competitors. The only way to get over on him is to do what Masvidal did. So, yes, Ben Askren could have been the world champion. Absolutely.
Who is your favorite international wrestler to watch, so non-American?
Well, of all time was Batrov. I think the Batrov was probably should be in the conversations for the all-time great wrestlers. But as far as favorite, I guess Sajilov, just because of the rivalry. You know, he's got a really good gut wrench. He couldn't turn me. He's got a really good gut wrench for these guys that don't know how to defend it. He would never in a million years turn me.
He couldn't turn you?
I can't be turned. Have I ever told you that? And I'm not here to brag, but have I ever told? No, I don't get turned. I don't get turned. I ruined Mason Manville's life a few years ago. He's never been the same. The Greco team had come to Oregon, and it's very well known amongst people in the know that Chael Sonnen cannot be turned. So I had told Matt that. I said, well, who do you got? Who do you want to try to turn me? And he said, Manville will turn you. So I had to go into this event. I gave him his lock. 30 seconds, ruined his life. Manville's never been the same. Like, he won't even say hi to me. I'm a big Mason Manville fan. He, won't even say hi to me anymore because he couldn't turn me. It's like, Mason, I didn't beat you. It's not like you didn't turn me and then I did turn you. I scored no points. You just also scored no points. I mean, that's all that happened. How did we get on this topic? What are we talking about? Manville and gut wrenches for? Oh, Sajilov, yeah, he's got this gut wrench, and people don't know how to defend it properly. He would never turn me, but he's turning all these people in a gut wrench, and I would say he's the guy that I watch the most.
How could people defend it differently? How would you defend Sajilov's gut wrench? Help out America.
Okay. I would probably have to see you in person to actually walk you and show you through this. In fact, that's probably what I would have to do. But there's a number of things that you can do. And first off, going flat, you don't ever go flat. You push back to your knees. You push back on your knees. You stay on a base. It would throw Sajilov would never turn. He'd have no chance of turning me. But that's largely why. And unless I show you, I don't know that you would understand. Ask Manville.
Yeah, well, I'll ask him. I remember you did something with Zach Brunson.
Excuse me. Yes, that's another one. Zach Brunson, University National Champion, NCAA All-American, no points on Chael P. And you want to know something? Manville won a world championship, flew from overseas. He flies right to Fargo, weighs in, wins a national championship, all in the same week period. Manville's incredible, didn't score on Chael P.
Wow.
On a gut wrench. Manville whipped my ass, no question about that. But he won't turn me.
Unturnable. The unturnable. Chael Sonnen. Someone wants to know, what will it take to get Chael Sonnen to talk more wrestling?
Whoa. What was that? Are you heckling? Were you heckling? Do you think you know somebody that can turn me? What was that? That was very insincere, Pyle. Do you think you know someone that can turn me? Because you don't. And I'll give them a lot.
Chael, you're paranoid, man. You're looking 9 layers deep into my words. My words are my words, Chael. They mean what I mean what I say. Don't be paranoid.
There's something. There's something on the tone. There was a little something on there.
I have no idea what you're talking about. My tone is true. People want to know, what's it going to take to get Chael to talk more wrestling? Your department. I get on your podcast. You're talking about jiu-jitsu. I'm talking. I listen to you cut promos making fun of jiu-jitsu for years. Now you're running jiu-jitsu tournaments. What is this? And not wrestling? Give me a break.
I'm happy to talk wrestling. I would love to talk wrestling. We're here today to talk wrestling. We finally have some wrestling to talk about.
Yeah.
Because they're finally back at it. I mean, I just found out. J.O. takes on Nolf in a rooftop in Chicago. That's kind of cool. Guess when I found out about it? Maybe the biggest fan you know. I mean, you know how much I love her. I found out about it the day after it happened, for goodness sake.
Wow.
We finally have some. We got Frank versus Dake. Nothing else matters. By the way, Pyle, you put me on the spot on that match. I mean, am I missing something? Is there a way that Frank can score enough points on Kyle? I mean, that's a hard order, right? Particularly if you're a defensive wrestler.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because Dake is totally comfortable. If Chimizo decides, hey, I'm going to be calculated and try to steal this with one exchange, Dake has made a living off of people having that exact same approach against him and just winning by 1 or 2 points, right? And just like, I'll get my shot clock point, I'll get a couple step outs, and then when you come, you're going to need more attempts. So I don't think Chimizo can hang back and wait to hit one outside step, leg attack, and finish. I think he's going to have to mix it up a little bit more because as you pointed out, to beat Dake, you have to come at him. You have to be offensive. So it's going to take maybe a mindset change where he can't let the match come to him as much as he needs to be dictating. So I think he's got a great shot because I think his pedigree is incredible. And I think what makes this match interesting is neither guy has ever faced a similar opponent, right? Dake's never wrestled anyone like Chimizo. Chimizo's never wrestled anyone like Dake. So you can prognosticate all you want and make Dake the favorite, but the fact is we haven't seen anything like this, right, for either of these guys. So for that reason, I think it's going to be very competitive, but I think the tactics that each employee is going to 100% dictate how the match goes. And if Chimizo tries to hang back, he's going to lose a close match. I think his path is offense, right? But my pick is Dake.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's a great breakdown. I mean, that match is definitely worth debating back and forth. To act as though Dake's just going to run over, that's really not fair. I mean, that's kind of the first thing that I want to say. Dake's going to run over this guy, but whoever runs over Chimizo, right? I mean, Chimizo's a world champion. He's a very special athlete, but it just seems though with Kyle Dake. I mean, Kyle Dake doesn't just beat guys that aren't named Jordan Burroughs. He puts them away. He goes over to France and runs into Derringer. He takes him 11-0. He goes over to some tournament, runs into Sargouche. Dake even had a broken hand. I mean, an unusable hand. It was completely wrapped up like a club. He goes on the mat with Sargouche. He techs Sargouche. He beat Sargouche so fast and so easy that people have acted like it never happened. Like, he made Sargouche look like Sargouche was injured or hurt, and people were just more than happy. Even American media was happy to just eat up that narrative. The reality was that's not true. Dake went and kicked his ass with one hand, finished him.
Yeah.
It's just what happened, man. Dake's a handful. He's a handful. Ask Reese Humphrey from the NCAA Finals, right? I mean, he's a lot to deal with.
Would you rather have won UFC gold or world gold?
That'd have been a close one. I mean, I got pretty into MMA for a while there, to where I would probably go with that. Now, if you would have said Olympic gold, there would be no question. I would go with the Olympic gold. But a world versus a world, I'd take that UFC belt.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. For the bad guy, what is your favorite movie?
Young Guns won. I enjoyed them both, but Young Guns won. And some of that was nostalgia. I think it came out in 1988, possibly 89, but I got to go see it in the theater. I didn't get to go see a lot of movies in the actual theater. I got to see that in the theater. Great time, great movie, great cast, just great. It's still held up. You can go watch it right now. It's still the greatest Western of all time.
Okay, so are you a Western fan, or do you just happen to like this movie and it's a Western?
I like a good Western. Now that's a bit of an oxymoron. I mean, most Westerns are crap. You'll get guys that'll tell you that John Wayne was a good actor. He was crap in crappy movies made by crappy directors. I mean, there's not a whole lot of good ones out there. You've got Young Guns Part 1 and 2. You've got Tombstone. Feel free to offer me another good one. I mean, for the most part,
Tombstone's amazing. Yeah. No, Tombstone's great.
Amazing.
Yeah. Who are the worst actors? Who are the most overrated actors? You don't like John Wayne. Now I'm curious, where does it start and end? Who's terrible?
Well, I'll tell you the other way. I will tell you who the world's best actor is, and that would be Ed Norton. Ed Norton would be absolute greatest thespian alive. But, and this is a little bit, Mark Wahlberg Denzel Washington. That's your two most reliable. Now, please let me explain. I don't mean they're wonderful thespians that are going to be on Broadway, but these are two guys where if you part with $10 in 2 hours of your time, they're going to deliver. They just know how to pick good scripts. Let me give you an example. Steve Carell. There is nobody in the history of cinema that does a worse job in picking crappy projects than Steve Carell. I don't know what's wrong with him or his manager or his agent, but if Steve Carell is in some, don't go see it unless it's called The Office. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a fantastic actor that cannot pick a good script or a good cast or a good producer. It's shocking. And Denzel and Wahlberg are the opposite. They pick good projects that you're happy you watch. And that's really all that matters, right? The Academy wants to give awards for cinematography. If you've ever used the word cinematography, you're a prick, okay? If you do anything, entertainment, that's the only value there is. Was this fun to watch? Yes or no? Wahlberg and Denzel pick fun movies to watch.
Yes, I agree with that. I will say the one Steve Carell movie I did like, 40-year-old version, I found to be very, very funny and good. But yeah, he's like Steve Carell, like in interviews I've listened to, sounds like he's trying to distance himself from like the Office character and Michael Scott. It's like, why? Why would you do that? Why don't you want to be the funny guy anymore? He's like, he wants to be treated as a serious actor, but no one's watching that stuff, guy.
No, okay. It's ridiculous. Jim Carrey went through that same thing. Jim Carrey went through, this is who I want to be. Jim, I give a goddamn what you want. We, the audience, will tell you. You don't tell us. Okay, you don't come out and tell us. We're the ones that buy it. We're the ones that want to see it. Make the funny faces and do the crazy stuff or go home. He chose to go home. Now he's like making artwork at home because, he's got nothing to do. It's like, yeah, Jim, because you're an idiot. Here's what you're good at doing. Go out and do it. People want to see me for certain things. In all fairness, Paul, much smaller. They want to see me for certain things. I don't get to go into the NFL or baseball, of which I'd be great at. But that's not what they want to see me do. And they are the ones that get to choose. Just by example, you get these actors that come out and they want to tell you, no, excuse me, dum-dum, we will let you know.
Yes. The audience decides. Well said.
The audience decides. Yeah, The Rock went through this in all fairness, where he's coming and going, don't call me The Rock, call me Dwayne. Hey, stupid. I'll call you what I want to call you, and you're going to dance to the tune, okay? You don't tell me what to call you.
Yeah. Prince tried that.
But it's a very real thing. It's a very real thing when these actors go, I want to be taken as a serious actor. What kind of life dream is that? You want to be taken seriously as a guy who plays somebody he's not while reading lines that somebody else wrote. You're acting like I want to be taken as a serious actor.
Wow.
You know what that means, Pa? That's old school right there. That's from you have to look that one up. A guy as young as you probably won't know that.
Well, thank you for calling me young. Before I let you go, you say you're watching a lot of shows. I forgot the show you said you're currently watching. What's your favorite series? Favorite TV series or Netflix?
Okay, so one of the great shows ever made that went under the radar is called The Shield. I tell you that because you should look it up. One of the worst shows ever made that is actually officially ranked number one is called The Sopranos. Now, The Sopranos not only sucked, but none of your viewers liked it, including you, and I can prove it. Now, you're going to, how could you prove what I like? I could just I can prove it. Okay, The Sopranos, have you ever rewatched it? No. Did it ever go to DVD? No. Is it on demand? No. Did it get syndication? No. People love to go, I love The Sopranos. Oh, it's so great. Oh, it was great. What was great about it? Well, the acting. Oh, you mean the actors who have never had a job since because they suck out of it, and the only one on TV is Paulie, who's selling bacon and eggs for Denny's commercials at 3 a.m. Those actors were great. Sopranos was garbage. Nobody even liked it. Nobody's ever rewatched it. Nobody ever bought it on DVD. They love to come out and say that they liked it. It's like the Hard Rock Cafe. You ever see those pricks that are walking, like Hard Rock Cafe in New York City? You ever gone to the Hard Rock Cafe? They don't know how to make a cheeseburger, okay? The place sucks, but there's something about it where you just have to come out and pretend to play along. So I will tell you right now, The Shield, The Wire is officially ranked the number 2 show of all time and is somewhere right in there. But there's some great shows out right now. By example, Succession is a fantastic show. I would put Ozark as one of the top shows ever made. I believe that Billions, and I'm going new stuff, but TV's gotten so good right now. Ray Donovan was a little overrated, but I think you would enjoy it. There's a show called Shameless that's fantastic, but I just caught one, Pile, that I didn't know existed. I just watched it. It was so good. Get Shorty. Not the movie. Get Shorty, the television series. It's on FX, 3 seasons. Ray Romano, amongst others. Excellent, excellent TV.
Well, we appreciate the recommendations. It's funny you talk about Sopranos. It's fun.
What do you have to do? What do you have to do? You've been a little bit of a prick to me. I appreciate that. What is it you have to do, Pile? There's a pandemic going on for good. Where is it you have to be? You've been trying to get rid of it from the second I got here. Hey, here's your hat. What's your hurry?
Listen, hey.
Oh, by the way, Chael, thanks for coming. Now get the F out. What is this all about?
Chael, you're paranoid. You're paranoid. I hate to see you like this. I hate to see you like this, man. We're so happy you're here. Well, I could chop it up with you for hours. This is a blast. I like The Sopranos.
You've been trying to get off with me since I got here. You lied about what happened with Kyle Dake and Reese Humphrey. You won't concede that you never should have put Bo Nickel at 20, not for one day of his life, when he was second in the damn junior trials to the defending champion named Gabe Dean, who, by the way, he ends up running into in the NCAA finals. Maybe you should pay a little bit more respect to the junior trials. He's got 2 wins over Mark Harlan on YouTube that you didn't know about. That's why you ranked him so low. Unless it happened in NCAA competition. No, excuse me. That's not an actual policy that you have, Pile. You missed the match. That's what happened. You missed the match.
I rewatched The Sopranos also. I'll have you know.
No one's rewatched The Sopranos is painful. It is painful.
It is painful.
Boring. It's so bad. Oh, my God. It was the most painful hour of the week every Sunday. Thank Lord in heaven above when it was over. Then you go think, Sopranos was the best TV show. Shut up, man. Come up with your own mind. Who told you it was a great TV show? Well, I read that somewhere. Come up with your own opinion. Sopranos sucked.
The Wire is my favorite show. I'm obsessed with that show. I've rewatched it many times. Our friend Andrew Spey always says The Shield is like the greatest show of all time. And he's like, dies on. So maybe you would get along. Maybe next FRL we'll have him on. You two guys can get along and have your own versions of the truth just come out, and you won't be so hostile, Chael. I hate to see you like this. I don't know if you didn't sleep well. Are you nervous about the Bellator show? You're going to do great. You're going to nail it.
Chael, speaking of the Bellator show, there's another wrestler on there, Taiwan Claxton. What do you think of Taiwan?
Taiwan's great. Taiwan turns out he's like a really smart guy. He does like computer programming and engineering. Really smart guy. You ever sit and visit with him, I think he'd really impress you. But Taiwan's a great athlete. He's a great fighter. I think he's got a tough battle in front of him. But they're all tough, in fairness.
Yeah.
Taiwan's special, though, man. Taiwan's a special human being. He's a good dude.
Kyle went to Ohio with Taiwan.
Turned me in a gut wrench, I'll tell you that much.
Kyle went to Ohio University with Taiwan, so they know each other really well. So
look at that. Isn't that something? Yeah, Taiwan's a good dude, man.
He's a bad dude, yeah.
Okay, well, this has been a blast. I would love to do this again, Chael. This was great. I don't want to kick Ben Askren off the show.
You don't mean that, man. You've been nothing but rude and hostile towards me ever since I got here, Pile. There was never, hey, Chael, how are you? How's things? How's the hot-ass wife and the kids? There was none of that. It was all about, what have you done for me lately? That's the way it goes sometimes.
All right, well,
you're the most powerful man in wrestling. I guess you can do that. So I'll have to concede.
Well, you know what? We can slow it down. Are you okay? How is the family? How are they without you right now? Because you're in Connecticut, they're in West Lynn. How do they cope during these times?
Kyle, you can't ask me a question after I tee you up for the question. It comes across for what it is, which is insincere. You're going to have to wrap the show and go to bed tonight knowing you were a prick to me.
All right.
That's probably not going to feel great. That's probably going to keep you up. But that's what happened, and the people saw it, and you were a prick to Chael. That's just what happened.
Well, if
Date versus Frank.
That's it.
Right?
That's all that matters.
Frank. This Saturday, July 25th, tell a friend, tune in, make a bet. Plenty of other great matches. I've had it with you all. Hey, is there something here when I do this? Wait, hold on. Is there something here?
Yeah, real close.
Is that funny? Is that funny or is that weird? Is that funny?
No.
I see a hole. Is there anything there?
No, I see it. Yeah, we see your right eye, Chael. Look good. We're good to go.
Is there something happening?
No, there's nothing happening.
You're playing the music. You're playing the music.
I didn't play it.
I'm hanging up.
Thank you, Chael. Thank you, Chael. Sonnen. Oh my gosh, that was a wild ride. I knew it would be.
What a show.
He's the best.
People want him and Ben on together.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll just quit. You know what? I like working here, but you know what? That would probably be it for me. Yes, Pyle and Kyle. He calls me Pyle. I've corrected him, but his truth is his truth. There's only one Chael Sonnen, for better or for worse. And as he said, July 25th, it's just 2 days away, starting at 7:40 Eastern. We got the pre-show. 8 Eastern, the wrestling starts. Dake Chamizo, Caldwell Pletcher, David Taylor versus Miles Martin, Jack Mueller, Roman Bravo Young, and Vito Araujo versus Sammy Alvarez live on Flow. We will see you then. We got a lot more great content coming. See you soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.